Give me some of that power!
Hello and welcome again to the Lost Minds Workshop. I'm JC Jensen. So this is Build a Rocking Chair, episode 24. We left off at episode 23 by finishing up shaping our legs. I think I had sanded to, I think 120 when we left off in 23. So I've gone ahead and I hand sanded to 220 the whole leg. Looks really nice. I'm real happy with it. So now for episode 24, we're preparing to glue these back legs to the seat. So in order to do that, Hal dedicated like 2 pages to explaining how a bar clamp, I'll just say how it works. All right, so you've got 2 90-degree faces on a bar clamp and a bar. And as you apply pressure, that bar bends, which has a tendency to open the face. So to counteract that, when we're gluing the back legs into this corner, we want the pressure going on the leg so it goes down into the corner of that joint, right? So we got to make a couple of glue blocks. He did a great job of explaining how the bar clamp works and how to counteract it, but he didn't really go into great detail on how to make these blocks. So I spent a little time and kind of sorted this out. What we've got when we place our 2 legs in the back of the seat, if you'll remember way back, we glued on these adder blocks that take our legs and splay them outward at 6 degrees each, right? Well, when we go to clamp that to the seat, those legs are 6 degrees out. So when we try to put a 90-degree clamp on 6-degree legs, the face of the bar clamp does not make full contact. Okay, so we've got to take a block and we need to taper it. I started with 1.5 inch perfectly square block to achieve what Hal wanted for counteracting the force of the clamps and them opening up. Right, we want our contact surface down here, and to achieve that, we simply cut it off. Start with the 1.5 inch, cut it 6 degrees front to back, and then create the taper. Since I cut this first, I cut the taper first for the contact point. I had to come back in with, I just used my block plane and shaved off this top half so the clamp, when it's applied, won't make contact. All right, hope that makes sense. All right, so that takes care of that one. And that gets us our horizontal pressure on as we apply it. And then in between those, on the top, to apply our vertical pressure or vertical clamps, we've got to make another block that sits on top of the leg, and we squeeze basically front to back of the seat. This one was a little easier to sort out. This started out a 2-inch square block. I cut the bottom at 6 degrees. I cut the top at 6 degrees. And then I clipped off the front or the bottom corner of the seat so that the pressure lands in the center of the block. Hope that makes more sense. All right, so 2-inch block, 6 degrees, top and bottom, parallel, and then clip off the corner. Groovy? All right, so let me get it set up over here, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so here, this is just dry. Everything's dry here, but the leg is in place, and I've got this tapered block just taped to the leg, right? Hal's using this funky blue tape. Well, I just happen to have some, and that's what I'm using because it comes off real easy. Doesn't leave a mess on the wood. Now you'll notice I've got the bottom about, I don't know, 3/32 to 1/8 above the seat notch. So when the clamps apply pressure here where the scribble is, that's going to put maximum pressure into the side and into the corner of the joint. All right, did the same thing on both sides. Okay, if you look at the leg now to the seat, you can see that 6-degree splay to the left. So by cutting these back opposite direction at 6 degrees, that's now going to allow our clamps to lay square. Okay, so now you'll see as I place the clamps on, we'll put this one right here. And this one on this side. All right, so as you can see, the face of the clamps is now square and flat on our block, applying that pressure. The other side is the same way, nice and flat. All right, so now the other blocks, the top, because the leg is also canted down, we have these other blocks, 6 degrees, 6 degrees, that are going to sit right here on the notch. 6 degrees, 6 degrees will sit here and here in between the two clamps. And then the front or the bottom of the seat is notched off so that the contact will be right down the center of this block. So we can put those in place here, and this is going to put the contact point right down the center of the block, and it's nice and square. So we get full contact on the leg. The jaw is flat and in contact with the center of the block, giving us full clamping pressure. Do the other side the same way. Here's a different view from the top of the leg looking down. It's narrow in the front. It's not, everything's nice and square to the seat, to the leg. All right, and then this block up here, setting in like so. Again, it's 6 degrees, and then the front cut off with our clamp applied. Right on. So that's how it looks dry. Well, I'm sorry. The video segment of the actual glue up, that file got corrupted somehow, so I wasn't able to share that. But if you follow the steps that I gave you, as far as how I applied the clamps, obviously with the blocks in place, Hal uses, and as did I, Tight Bond 3 because it gives us a really long opening time, as well as it's a little more viscous and acts as a lubricant versus Tight Bond Original or Tight Bond 2 tends to be a little thicker. Kind of can cause you some problems, right? Make sure that when you dry fit, and the dry run for the clamping, I did for me as much as I did for you, just to work through the process before I actually applied the glue. You've got time, you got to work relatively quickly, but you don't have to rush, right? So ensure in the dry fit that your joints go together fairly easily, right? And that they fully seat. Because when you apply that glue, obviously that wood's going to swell a little bit, and it's going to be more difficult to put together. All right. So with that, obviously you're going to apply your horizontal clamps first, and I did them. If you'll notice in the dry run, I put the handles, screw handles, on opposite sides, and then applied the blocks to the top. It's a good idea to wax the bottom of those blocks so glue doesn't, any squeeze out from this portion of the joint doesn't glue the block to the seat. we put those on, 2 horizontal clamps, and then tighten the horizontals and the 2 verticals, horizontal, verticals, until you don't get any more squeeze out. Hal has said that a few times he's gone so far as to put a pipe wrench on his clamps to continue turning it. I didn't have to resort to that, but they were super tight. These were this was the tightest clamping process I've ever done, and they were super tight. Okay, so there's that. Let's continue. All right, so it's been, I got about 16 hours in the clamps. Got a little lazy. So as you can see, I've got the clamps removed. So all we got left to do now is go ahead and finish shaping, grind, sand, whatever, to finish shaping the entire back of this seat down to our finished grit. All right, so that's where I'm at, and all right, there we go. So I alternated between the orbital sander and the angle grinder to bring these corners where it meets the chair into compliance. Right? They're not finished yet, but I've got it really close. I shaped, right? Because we ran the back of the seat across the router to give it the profile, and then of course we tied it into the 2 legs. So I've taken the time to sand this end grain here so that there are no hard lines from transition. So it's just a nice smooth round over with no visible lines other than the grain pattern itself, which is what we want. All right. Again, then here, so I alternated between grinding and sanding to conform the joint here, as well as on the 2 sides. That's what it is. And I've taken it down to 220, same as I did here. I'll come back later, probably after I get the front legs done before we move on, and I will sand this even further. Say Hal goes up to 1,000 grit in here. I'm not going to go that high, but I'm going to get it to an extremely smooth texture and feel all the way through. All right. I did also spent a little time. It's not finished yet, but I worked on these transitions at the top. Remember, we had our our kerf line that was sitting here. So the legs were a little bit proud of the seat on the top and on the bottom. So as I was, sanding, doing my sanding business, working on this backside, I went ahead and got a head start on blending these, the legs into the seat here and on the bottom as well. All right, again, they're not done yet. We're going to use a different sander to get in here and work all of this out later on. So I'm at a good spot right now. All right, I'm real happy with how the legs joined. The joints look really nice. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how this has turned out. So that wraps us up for this episode. If you like this video, again, please hit that like button. Next up is the front legs. So we'll see you down the road.